headlines, PM holds consultations with residents of Wag Khimra. And UN warns of dire condition of refugees in Benishangul Gumuz. Hello, many thanks for joining us. You're watching Addis News Hour with the news. I'm Tabitha John. We begin our news transmission by wishing all Christians a happy Easter Eve. Do stay with us. Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed has extended Easter best wishes to all Christians on the eve of the holiday that marks the resurrection of Jesus Christ from the tomb. The resurrection of Jesus Christ smashes machinations of elements such as people who were not interested in his teachings and miracles, those who preferred the demise of Adam rather than his salvation, and those who were not willing to accept anything except their own choices, the Premier underlined. The light of Jesus' resurrection dispels machinations of the devil and his agents who faced demise and exodus, he noted, adding that Easter holiday marks eternal power of the Lord. Referring to the current situation in the country, Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed underscored that Ethiopia will rise again and abash her enemies, wishing all a happy festivity. President Sahle-Work Zewde has sent a letter of condolence to Kenyan people over the passing away of former President Mwai Kibaki, saying that she was greatly saddened by the news of the passing of the third president of Kenya, Mwai Kibaki. Zewde pointed out that Kibaki's support to her as the first DG UNON was critical. Zewde expressed her heartfelt condolences to President Uhuru Kenyatta, the government, and the brotherly people of Kenya. In a similar development, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs said in a statement it issued that it is deeply saddened by the passing of former Kenyan President Mwai Kibaki. Ethiopia remembers Kibaki for his outstanding public service that brought Ethiopia and Kenya much closer. The statement read, Mwai Kibaki, who served as Kenya's third president from 2003 to 2013, has died aged 90. Sacrifice, hard work, knowledge, and determination are the cornerstones of helping Ethiopia leap out of poverty. The remark came here today when Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, accompanied by President of the state of Amhara, Yilik Al-Kafala, visited the Central Command of the Ethiopian National Defense Forces and spent some time with residents of Sakota Town, Wag Khimra zone of the state of Amhara. Let's find out more about the public consultations at Sakota Town from our staff reporter, Haftam Washagri.
Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed has paid an official visit the Central Command of the Ethiopian National Defense Forces and held discussions with residents of Wag Khimra zone in the state of Amhara. During his discussion with community members, Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed praised the architectural excellence and philosophical foundation of the Agao people.
የላሊበላን ውቅር አብያተ ክርስቲያን ስንመለከት ድንጋይ ተጠርቦ የሚሆን አለ የምናየው።
Now look at the sculpture of the rock-hewn church of Lalibela and see the thinking that led to such an epic architecture. The architects of those days accomplished a masterpiece even before starting it. The key lesson from this being the fact that we can accomplish anything provided that we have smart ideas and the will to put them into practice.
Noting the recent experience of conflict in the vicinity, Abiy emphasized enabling peace entails building peace within the commitment to becoming peaceful agents. Sacrifice, hard work, knowledge, and determination are the cornerstones of helping Ethiopia leap out of poverty, the Premier added.
ኢትዮጵያ እንድታድግ ከፈለጋችሁ አንድ መሆን ያስፈልጋል። ከተከፋፈልን በቋንቋ በሰፈር ከተለያየን
If we want to realize prosperity in Ethiopia, we have to solidify unity at the expense of differences. Failure to do so means we're headed for the ground fall. Ethiopia's commitment to the cause of Pan-Africanism could only be realized if and only if we cement our internal ties. In short, we have to prioritize Ethiopia.
መለዮ ሲለብስ
Chairperson of the African Union Commission, Moussa Faki Mahamat, welcomed the decision by the European Union Council to establish an assistance measure under the European Peace Facility, EPF. The EU support worth €600 million will be disbursed in 3 installments from 2022 to 2024. According to a presser released by the Office of the Chairperson, the 3-year EU support is a demonstration of the commitment to build stronger partnership between AU and EU in line with the joint declaration of the 6th AU-EU Summit held in Brussels in February 2022. Furthermore, the Chairperson underscores the importance of regional and multilateral cooperation to strengthen AU-led peace support operations towards building durable peace on the continent. Displaced people stationed across various refugee camps in Benishangul Gumuz State are said to be in dire need of basic humanitarian assistance in the form of food, shelter, water, and sanitation, and this requires additional funding. The Ethiopian Humanitarian Aid Team, led by the United Nations Special Representative for Ethiopia and Humanitarian Coordinator Catherine Sozi, paid a 2-day field visit to the Benishangul Gumuz State. The team, which includes the Australian ambassador to Ethiopia, looked at the humanitarian situation in the state along with people displaced by conflict. Kazawun Chane has the rest of the story.
The United Nations Special Representative for Ethiopian Humanitarian Coordinator, Catherine Sozi, alongside the Australian ambassador to Ethiopian high government officials, paid a field visit to the Benishangul Gumuz region state refugee camps. Months-long conflict in a state left 400,000 people displaced, 65% of whom still live in the zone. At least 12,000 homes, 142 schools, 107 health posts, and 183 animal health posts were damaged in the clashes. According to the United Nations, the group is in dire need of basic humanitarian assistance and the form of food, shelter, water, and sanitation, and this requires additional funding.
Honestly, the situation is very sobering, very depressing, one which shows the dignity of humanity at a point where things could be a lot better. So the purpose of our mission as the humanitarian country team was to come and meet with our colleagues, our fellow humanitarians, working both as non-government, both also with the local government itself, together with international partners, including the United Nations, on seeking to see where we can form stronger partnerships so that we complement the work that the local zonal authorities are doing to meet the needs of thousands of displaced persons, thousands of men, women, and children in shelter that is really not where any of us would like to live in facilities where there's no water and sanitation, and where kids and children are hungry and they could do with much more food. And
Sazi said the plight of the IDPs was dire and that the humanitarian response must be stepped up until the victims return to their village. She says the opportunity to call upon the international aid agencies to support this refuge.
I understand fully that a lot of effort is being done by our partners on the ground, but the purpose of this mission is to look for extra resources to really beef up what is required to ensure that our fellow human beings on the ground live a life of dignity and quality of life until they can go back to where they feel is their home. Our conversations with the communities are very sobering. Many of the internally displaced persons would like to return, but only if, of course, they have peace and where they can exist knowing that they will not be challenged in terms of their own security.
She further underscored that the mission of their visit to the regional refuge camp is to look for the problems that occurred and strive to ensure life dignity.
Every effort, every engagement with the partnerships on the ground, not only with the zonal authorities, but with the faith-based communities, with the non-governmental organizations to try and secure peace for everybody in there so that they can continue their lives as every one of us, you and I, is something that we need to fight for. And of course we're here with some of the donors who contribute generously to the Ethiopian Humanitarian Fund to see what additional resources we can mobilize so that people can coexist in a state of dignity and a good quality of life.
It was also noted that the IDPs held discussions with the group members where they expressed wishes to return their homes and villages if peace is restored and their safety is not compromised.
Ethiopian ambassador to the UK, Teferi Mellese, diplomats and embassy staff organized an event to congratulate Lemon Sisay on receiving the OBE, Officer of the Order of the British Empire Award from the Prince of Wales for his services to literature and charity. The Manchester University Chancellor, poet and playwright Lemon Sisay has received his OBE for services to literature and charity from His Royal Highness Prince Charles in March 2022. Since taking up the chancellorship in 2015, Lemon Sisay MBE has contributed to the university significantly on a local, national and international scale. In 2017, he launched the Lemon Sisay Law Bursaries, which aims to address underrepresentation of blacks in the legal profession. Lemon has also helped the university expand its equity and merit scholarships for funded master's degrees to include prospective Ethiopian students. Most Western media outlets have been criticized for not caring to cover the reality happening in Ethiopia. An Ethiopian diaspora says the reason for this is that the media institutions have indulged into the practice of self-censorship. Then he says there is Twitter to count on as far as the TPLF and the West are concerned, as it gives them a hand in their devious schemes by removing pro-Ethiopia movements. Shagao Yamatao takes us through the article by the well-known blogger Aklog Birara, which appeared on Borkenna, a pro-Ethiopian website. Take a look.
In a latest article he published on Borkenna, Aklog Birara focused on the internal challenges that the country faces and remedies. He also delved into explaining why foreign media outlets wish to turn a blind eye to the reality in Ethiopia. Aklog believes that America's relations with Ethiopia must be encouraged, nurtured and supported by the government of the United States as well as by the government of Ethiopia. The mutual benefits to both are huge. Western journalists are not covering what is happening in Ethiopia. According to Garrison's report, few journalists are asked to interview on Ethiopian outlets and via Zoom from wherever they live. The journalists also said they wrote for dissident press, and these Ethiopian outlets found them on social media. They are self-censorship media outlets.
If you are an accredited journalist and you follow the steps, you can get in to cover this conflict. I think that a lot of times the people who have come here to cover the conflict are, basically swimming in white privilege. And they're swimming in an arrogance that I've seen in other parts of Africa where people feel like, well, I'm from, London, and I should be able to just walk in here because you guys are savages. You guys are like, you're Stone Age, you're primitive. So I should just be able to do what I need to do and leave. I don't have to go by your rules. And that's the problem.
So, how is it possible for the BBC, CNN, New York Times, the Washington Post and others to report and opine on the Ethiopian situation without witnessing what is happening on the ground? How is it possible for members of the US Senate and House to sponsor draconian and punitive legislation, HR 6600 and S 3199, without the benefit of interfacing with ordinary Ethiopians? Who do they cite as legitimate sources? He said it is these kinds of opaque, restricted, socially and politically engineered media and human rights reports generated and propagated by Western institutions that underpin policies that must be deemed dangerous, immoral, undemocratic and unethical. Twitter removes the names and accounts of Ethiopians and Eritreans who offer counter views while permitting pro-TPLF activists to parrot fake news. This is political. Powerful external forces muzzle the Ethiopian No More movement. The bottom line, according to the writer, is that Ethiopians are on their own. Their country's survival depends entirely on their resolve to set aside non-strategic differences and to unite. It depends on their unity of national purpose. Killing one another, disempowering one another, demeaning one another, expelling one another, and so on will result into two avoidable outcomes: a Rwanda-like genocide and the Balkanization of Ethiopia. Turning his attention to the latest reports by the so-called human rights groups, Amnesty and Human Rights Watch, he said the proposal for peacekeeping operations in Ethiopia undermines Ethiopia's sovereignty. The real motive and intent are not to restore peace and stability, rather it is to create a safe corridor for the TPLF to operate and reoccupy and repopulate Western Tigray. The further ploy is for foreign powers to intervene directly and in the domestic affairs of one of the most ancient countries in the world and the only independent African country. ACLO concludes by urging Ethiopian political, social, academic and civic elites to cease and desist from propagating and glorifying minor and non-strategic differences that pain Ethiopian society. He urged them to build on commonalities rather than on differences.
In business news, the Ethiopian Embassy in Japan, Tokyo, has held a seminar on doing business in Ethiopia on Thursday in collaboration with Inspire Africa Association. The seminar drew business people and leaders from 6 companies in Japan who engage in hydropower, construction, pharmaceuticals, electronics, and technology sectors. In delivering opening remarks on behalf of the embassy, Johannes Fenta reiterated the historical diplomatic relations between Ethiopia and Japan and underlined the need to further expand the ties with further engagements in investment, trade, and technology transfer. Attendees said the seminar helped them get valuable information about investment opportunities in Ethiopia and expressed their desire to invest in Ethiopia. And now take a look at the latest foreign exchange rates.
The Lord bless you and keep you. All power is given unto me in heaven and in earth.
Go, therefore, and teach all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Ghost,